Me, I'm good.
You know, I used to call you Madung, but then in school, formally, what are you known as?
What do you mean, formally?
Mr. T.
Known as?
Mr. 12-inch Congo man. So those weird games we used to play in Sense, that wasn't you. That was Victor.
I swear we used to give each other very stupid
Challenges.
not challenges, the nicknames. Nobody was ever called by their name.
What was my nickname? I don't remember.
I can't.
There was Dijaz. I remember
The
Dijaz.
guys used to call those. The guys used to make fun of the Vayani name.
Yeah, yeah.
They used to make fun of Vayani.
Vayani.
Not even that. It's like some food. I don't know what they used to. Biryani.
Yes.
Very, very silly.
Sajid Vayani, Anaka kwa Manyani,
But guys,
Anakula
exactly.
Biryani.
Guys used to be harsh.
Yes. I mean,
Guys used to be harsh to each other, but
but it's a good school. We
No.
were busting each other's balls.
I mean, if you were Gen Zs at that time,
yeah.
oh man, I think we'd probably be running. Okay, the rationale would be that we'd probably be running home to our moms and telling them, oh, I'm being bullied at school.
Yeah.
But then I learned these kids are worse.
They're much worse.
You know why?
They're dealing with a lot more shit.
No, the internet, cyberbullying. So you have the cyberbullying plus classroom.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't stop. At least with us, it stopped when you entered the car.
Exactly. Now this guys
when you pick up home,
Yeah.
you find Snapchats waiting for you.
Yo,
It's a bit. The other thing I realized is access to drugs and alcohol. Remember, having a sip of alcohol was like, way. Bro, now guys are doing lines in school, guys are doing hard drugs.
actually, for me, it's what really again makes this thing very scary is how convenient it is. You remember how hard it used to be to get alcohol? Now imagine if you're a kid now, you have access to Uber.
Exactly.
Uber Eats. You can Uber Eats that shit and then it comes to
Kim,
you.
on the coffee pump thing,
Yeah.
you know, he says, I accidentally ordered Jack Daniel, sorry. The credit card gets depleted. And Kim only orders Saturday night and said, bro, sorry, I sat on the phone and then it accidentally ordered a balozi.
Now imagine how hard it used to be to sneak out of your parents' house when you're a teenager, right? But now you can order booze, you can order a taxi to get to where you're going.
You can book a hotel.
You can book an Airbnb for 2K.
By the way.
Yeah.
Right
Right at from the comfort of your phone.
You know, when initially
It's crazy.
I started dating, there was no Airbnb. So we literally had to go and find these cheap hotels. And it was a struggle, by the way.
It's called accommodation.
Accommodation. Do you have any accommodations you remember? But you know, the funny thing is, the beauty about the podcast is it connects me with people from the past.
Yeah.
And you're definitely, you know, we used to share a desk together.
Yeah,
at
we were
Saints.
deskies.
And then all of a sudden, I find you become part of the political activist sphere, writing articles online. So before we start, bro, why don't we just give people a rundown of what you do right now? Because there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
Apologies, ladies and gentlemen, for the interruption. We experienced a brief video glitch, which has forced us to take away the visual side. Thanks for deciding to stick with us. Enjoy the podcast.
This is the way the coffee pump podcast. There's no easy. This is not like KTN news. You know, there's no structure over here. This is just two guys having a conversation.
I know. I like the free flowing nature of the conversation. So I think, you know, we left
At Saints.
Hop from school to school. I end up in Strath and then end up in JKUAT and a whole bunch of other things. But right now, my work spans maybe across multiple sections. So the first thing is when I was in campus, I started a market research company, which I still run until now. Okay. It's called Odipo Dev. I mean, we give you an honorable mention in one of our pieces of research recently.
Yes.
Seem to be doing very well with your podcast.
This was apparently the top 20
top 20 podcasts in Kenya.
You know, number 20. Number 20.
You guys, yeah, for real. Like you guys are
So we went from non-existent to hitting the bottom, which is not bad.
I mean, no,
it's progress. It's
now
progress,
you can
right?
start from now you have the chance to go from starting from the bottom, and then now get to a certain point.
So the market research specifically, what does it involve?
I mean, typically we focus on, and it's not even just a market research company. I think for us, we're moving a lot more towards just becoming what we call a leverage-led intelligence company.
Okay.
So the main thing is that we operate across 3 spheres. So we operate in actually 2. We operate in the public interest, and then we also operate in market interests.
Yes.
And for market interest, we gather data around, again, markets, prices, how are things positioned on shelves, right? What do consumers think about what the choices they make when they go to the supermarket, the choices they make when they buy things, right? And then very soon we actually started realizing that, wait, consumer choice is very similar to political choice.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Politicians are brands in themselves also. And that people also, when they decide to think about a specific politician, or a specific type of civic action, right, they also go through a choice framework. Why do I pick this certain cause over this one? Why do I pick this politician over this one? It's why politicians are also usually very keen on optics. Right? This is a very fundamental part of how it works.
Because they influence, I guess you're saying, the mind and culture and buying habits of people's...
Yeah. And I mean, think about it. For the longest time, we've always said that Kenya's biggest celebrities are politicians. Why do people drive Prados everywhere? Yes, right? It's fundamentally because of the influence that these guys have on our minds and on our psyche and on our culture. So our job is to study that culture and figure out how exactly we can turn the wheels of that culture.
And so how did it end up with you writing articles for global platforms about political movements in Kenya?
So that's interesting because, of course, I decided to just also branch out and pursue my own passions, because I think one thing people realize, just similar to you with the podcast, right? Is that, your business is your business. The business is the business, but eventually the business is also not yours. You bring in so many people, there's a lot of interests and all those kinds of things. And so I just started doing journalism as well, on my own, under my own byline, for which and journalism and research again, but more now tech-focused, tech and society, what we call tech and society research, which is looking at how technology affects society, right? And the inevitable clash between how these mobile phones that we have, how they end up changing how exactly we interact with each other, right? So I did that. When I did that, I started off by going by writing at BuzzFeed News. And then from there I moved to the Mozilla Foundation, where I joined as a fellow. Then after that, I just started writing.
Sorry to cut your train of thought. You know what Mozilla is?
Mozilla.
Yeah. Actually, you're right. So Mozilla Foundation, yes.
Yeah, then now after that, I started writing more for global platforms when I joined there, and I've just kept going.
Don't be humble. Talk about these global platforms.
What?
Don't be humble. Talk about these global platforms. Which one are they? Drop some names. So
I mean, I've written for Wired, and I'm sure you know Wired, CNN, The Guardian, and currently, of course, my beat is with The Guardian, so I write quite a bit of stories.
Yeah. Big dick. That's what's up. This Saints guys, guys.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is, man.
By the way, speaking, sorry to cut you, but speaking of Saints, I told you there was a Jama.
Yeah.
At 5 a.m, I got up to pray, and I'm just seeing my Twitter sort of blow up.
Oh God!
There was a guy called.
Usually, you never want that.
Yeah, because I'm taking a peaceful dump before everything, and then I'm seeing pa. There's a guy called Francis Gaitho.
Oh God! Oh God!
Who the fuck is this clown?
Music NS. Everybody, but me, I don't know. Me, I've heard he might be a move. I never know if he's been abducted. They didn't catch him apparently.
Oh, he found himself.
Huh? Well, recently.
No, not recently.
No, yes, walikuwa wamemshika kitambo, But now, nasikia amejificha. Me, I don't know if it's true.
Basically, he criticizes the government.
No. So I wasn't. Again, part of the reason I wanted you here is because a lot of the commentary around Coffee Pump podcast sort of deviates towards politics.
Yeah.
And I've said it here. I don't want this to be a political talk show. I don't want it to be about societal norms and what's happening in Kenya.
Yeah.
There are podcasts that do that extremely well. Ikonini, Mike Check covers that in aspect. E045 is getting into that. And politics has never been something that I want to delve into. It's not my interest. The aspect of Coffee Pump is trying to figure out life's mysteries and having subject matter experts to talk about them and just having conversations around it, sort of like modern wisdom.
You invited the wrong guy to your podcast.
Now, that being said,
Yeah.
I think the emphasis of having you here is to say, okay, fine. Maybe there's an aspect of me wanting to learn about politics, and we're doing sort of a politics 101 with you and just trying to understand the landscape. Like, who the fuck is the president of Kenya right now? No.
Don't get me started.
No. Not that extreme. So anyway, this basically emphasized that because Francis Gaitho was not someone I knew.
Yeah.
I thank him for posting this because it gave me a lot more traction. People are trying to find that. But basically, we'll put up his tweet over here and I send it to the team. This is how it goes.
Yeah.
I posted a clip saying that I wanted to invite Uhuru Kenyatta onto the podcast.
I remember we talked about
because
this.
he was a Saints guy.
Yeah,
and
I
made
remember
quite a lot of traction on TikTok, Instagram.
I saw the video. I was like, damn, he did it.
Yeah, so this guy basically says, Kenyan podcasters, puppets of privilege propping up a plundering ex-president. Fucking brilliant. That's the title. Kenya's podcast scene is a cesspool of self-indulgent drivel churned out by a clique of silver spoon trust fund brats masquerading as content creators. Fuck! That's brilliant, man. I'm not sure if it's chat.
I mean, he's got away with words.
He's got away with words.
Got away with words.
These so-called podcasters, coddled rich kids. I wish, bro. You saw I wish. Whose microphones and cameras were bankrolled by mom and daddy. Bro, I wish, man.
I wish they could.
Yeah, I don't have money to go to Japan right now. Were bankrolled by mommy and daddy, have the audacity to clog the airwaves with their inane banter, all while living rent-free in their parents' plush properties. Schooled in elite institutions like St. Mary's.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah. We're from elite society, bro.
Okay.
Me I thought ISK was elite, but we're part of that.
I mean, anyway, continue.
They're as detached from the struggles of ordinary Kenyans as a matatu is from a Mercedes. Well, detached when the matatu's rear-ending a Mercedes, yes, maybe. Yet, in a shameless display of Githeri media sycophancy, they roll out the red carpet for the very charlatans who bled Kenya dry. None more egregious than the former president himself, Uhuru Kenyatta. Take Sajid Vayani, a pathetic excuse for a human who recently extended a fawning invitation to Uhuru, groveling for life banter about his favorite beers and cars. To be honest, I feel Francis was a bit jealous I didn't invite him.
But this is it. I think what I like about this is this gets us closer to getting him here. Yeah, because now
Anyway,
it's his platform day.
Yes.
So that means Evida will probably, I think it's now going to do the rounds, the right kind of rounds. But he said something so interesting
But
there.
anyway, that's sorry to cut you. This is just half. It's still
It's still going.
It still goes on, bro.
This is our airtime. Let's leave. Let's not give Francis anymore.
I mean, this aspect, what made me realize is we are in the ether, right? Within the podcast sphere, as much as I don't like it, our culture is so embedded in the political climate that whatever conversations we have eventually stem to that. And whether it's having local rappers or having personalities, politics is embedded in who we are. So I thought the emphasis on me is to make an effort and get someone who understands the political climate, who is part of the system, who writes articles.
I'm not part of the system.
In the sense, part of the system that basically understands it, right? Because
for sure.
you've done all this. And then also to talk about GTA Vice City and all those games, yeah?
Of course.
So, what do you think of this guy's tweet?
No, so first of all, like there's something you've said about how much like so much of our politics, of our conversations in general tend to stem into politics. I have a Ghanaian friend who once told me, if you see a group of Kenyans, like typically, like, you know, Kenyans tend to huddle around. If you travel around the world, go to a conference,
find each other.
When Kenyans find each other, they will find each other.
Yes.
They'll find a way to find each other, and then they will huddle together.
Yes.
Now that guy told me, you see that specific group of Kenyans, when you find them together, they're talking only about two things: politics and relationships.
That's so true.
That's the only thing. If you look at our talk radio, right, our radio shows, it is two things, right? It is either yes, exactly. It is who has cheated on who, right? What is this relationship drama that is going on, right? Or it is what has Raila done to Ruto, what has Ruto done to this guy, how is the political sphere moving and everything.
And that's, you see, the thing is, people ask me is that you're so out of touch with what's going on the ground. And the reason is I don't give a shit what goes on the ground.
Which is okay.
Because from a podcast perspective, all right? And the thing is, I don't want to shine light on stuff that you can have an opinion on a person and then you'll have 10 people criticizing you, right? You can say, oh, by the way, you know, remember how Ruto did this one positive thing, and then you get like 10 negative comments, and you can be like, oh, you remember Uhuru did this positive thing. There's no winning here. And the aspect of this podcast is obviously I wanted to go beyond the borders of Kenya, right? Where I'm looking at guys who understand the aspects of what Molly does to your system, like subject matter experts on NASA, like getting those people that I have a genuine curiosity about game creators. You remember Greg Miller and Colin Moriarty for IGN games? Imagine getting them on the podcast.
Yeah.
Like internationally, going online, right? Anyway, that's just me off ranting.
It depends on. So first of all, like politics. Yes, politics is about being, to some extent, tone, right? It's in this country, at least given the current thing, politics is largely also about mood, right? You can sometimes not afford to be out of touch with that mood, right?
Yes.
And so being able to read that is a very important skill.
Correct.
Right. And it's part of the reasons why a lot of politicians meet, so that they meet, so that they can exchange notes, even from opposing sides, and be like, so what is the ground saying?
Yes.
What is the ground saying on your side? What's the ground saying on your side? And it doesn't matter whether something good or bad has happened. It all has to fall, and somehow has to fall in line sometimes with that tone, right?
I appreciate
now,
that.
that's not to say that is the only function or the only way to interpret politics. Politics exists without the news, right? Like, it exists without the tone of the masses, right? There's different kinds of ways in which people engage with politics. Sometimes I say that some people tend to tune out and not give a damn about the politics of the day because of how it is fed to them.
Correct.
In general, I like to say that we have a news product landscape, right, that does not favor the personality types of people who are not political junkies, or people who are not news junkies, or people who work outside the news or outside of the political sphere. And so it tends to, the reason is, when you look at how a lot of people consume the news, especially political news, what does it do? It makes you end up feeling helpless. Have you ever watched a piece of news and felt like, okay, you've told me everything is bad.
So what's the point of all this?
Bad.
Yes, exactly.
So, and by then, like, very few people like decide that, hey, look, I'm gonna do something about this. Actually, the natural reaction from our current information culture of how politics is consumed is that it makes you feel helpless. And the best way to actually look at that is news consumption amongst women. That is the best place to actually understand everything that is wrong with our information landscape when it comes to politics. For men, politics is about entertainment, right? It really is. It's a form of entertainment for a lot of people. But even some people feel like this is too much, I have to tune out, right? But for a lot of people, you'll find that there are people that say they ban the news from being watched in their homes because they don't want their children to watch that. Which is
pretty insane. But from what I understand is in Kenya, sports even is used to funnel political agendas.
Yes, absolutely.
I think we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, where there are people that actually in selected groups. Maybe we could discuss that.
Yeah. So, but just I don't want to lose this point
Sure,
about
sure.
how part of the answer towards this general disillusionment,
Yes.
right, is partly because of how the news is packaged,
Yeah.
right, and how it is told. A big problem is that it leaves a lot of people feeling helpless. There's this big scandal about 25 billion shillings has been stolen, but really, what is within my power to be able to change that, right? It's not that it doesn't mean that it should not be delivered, but there are a lot of people that feel that the rate at which all of this comes at them ends up making them feel helpless, and that's why they tune out.
But there's no
And
news.
that's why, for example,
Yeah.
a lot of news media in this country is in crisis. Because again, eventually, if something just consistently tells you things are bad, and it's not necessarily that things are good, but it's told perhaps in a way that doesn't empower you
Yeah.
or show you the way, right, in terms of where you could take your advocacy, you do end up tuning out. And so I don't blame you also for tuning out. I think it's also a product of the environment that we're in.
But Madung, the aspect of negativity breeding more views, I understand why the media does that.
Yes, exactly,
Because
which it does.
It does. It plays on it.
But how much action does it breed? That's the key question.
Fair enough, but it also has an aspect of maybe reflecting on what our society in Kenya looks like, because the notion is politician, corruption, corruption, theft, theft, news. That cyclical aspect is so prevalent today, because if you look at everything to do with Kenyan politics, you're like, it's pretty much negative. Not because the news outlets, they're just reporting, but because it is negative out there. There's no positive being done, right? The positive that normally happens in the country, the expressway was built. Oh, but the money was funneled through these entities that belong to these politicians. So there's a positive, but then there's a trail of negativity behind, right? And maybe that's because, again, this is my assumption of it, is a lot of people tune out from politics because what's the point? Because when people get into politics, they try and fight the system, but the system is too corrupt or too large.
It eats you up.
It eats you up. And so
eats
you
you up,
become
yeah.
part of that machine.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the first thing I always tell people is if you want to analyze anything that comes out of our politics, please note that Parliament is an asylum. It is literally a madhouse. Imagine all those characters, all 300 and something of them, right? With the madness that it has taken for them to be able to get, because this country goes mad during elections, right? With the madness that is taken for them to get into office, right? Then you put them all in one room. I mean, and there's evidence about this. You saw the two chicks that were fighting in Parliament on the grass the other day, right? There's been admissions by MPs that they smoke weed in the toilets. Right? That they've exchanged bribes in their toilet. What goes on in Parliament's toilets? I'd love to know. Because there just seems to be a lot of very wacko stories that come out of that, like very weird stories that come out of that place, right? So the first thing for me nowadays, I just start by assuming these people in general might be a bit cuckoo.
Yeah.
You start there. And then I think you proceed to understand their behavior and all of this kind of stuff from there.
Is there anyone that stands out to you in positivity where this particular person within the political archives or past, present, are doing exceptional jobs and are actually trying to change the system? Is there anyone that stands out to you?
I don't know what change the system, that definition is. Sometimes I feel like if I say this, it might be a trap, so it's a bit tricky. I would refrain from answering that. But I think which maybe politicians I personally admire, I think I'm a big fan of Crystal Asige.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think the kind of movements that she's made and the kind of statement that she's made as a person with disability in the Senate, she's been the franchise player, I think, of that entire house, in my opinion. When you look at the Persons with Disability Bill, which is a groundbreaking bill, please, I would advise anybody to go and look at the kind of things that she's tried to push and put in that bill for people with disability, and the kind of like, it's a game changer, right? And pushing for implementation, beyond it getting passed, I think is something that I think is an amazing legacy project for someone like her.
Right.
And probably if it gets implemented fully, it's going to leave an indelible mark on the lives of a lot of people in this country. But I admire her. I love her brain. The eloquence is it's the kind of thing that we want people, those are the kind of people that we want in parliament for sure. So those are the kind, for me, I'd say Crystal Asige for me is the one that I really look to. And I'm like, we just need like several more of you in this place. And I think we'll be good.
Do you think we'll get to that place where we have a lot more characters like her?
I think so, because of the whole, the thing is,
and maybe to add more to that question, is it an aspect of generational or cultural change in regime? What I mean by that is the older generation versus our generation now who's stepping up into politics, the Gen Z aspect, but also Kibe's video where he said guys from Shags entering politics versus guys who have a more, I'd say,
elite predisposition
entering into politics, that cultural shift. Do you think those things play into the next elections as well?
Absolutely. I think, so the first thing is that you have to understand that this is representative politics.
Yes.
So it needs to be representative.
Yes.
Right? So everybody needs to be involved and added into the pie in some way or form, right? I don't think it's up to us to dictate who should be in and who should not be, because, and this is why I usually say when I hear people say, God forbid, but, such and such politician is a class 3 dropout. He doesn't deserve to be in parliament or have a chance. But I'm like, it's representative democracy. Actually, considering the kind of inequalities we have in education in this country, people like them actually tend to be deserving as well, just as much as anybody else, to get into politics. But that being said, in my opinion, which is different now away from the platitudes, it's high time we stopped leaving politics to stupid people. This is something that is very clear to me. It's high time we stop leaving politics to stupid people.
Yeah.
And that guys like you, right, need to pay more and more attention, because if you've got the ideas, right, and you've got the capacity to understand where perhaps your weaknesses and blind spots are and fill them in and come in and start saying that, look, it's high time I stop leaving this stuff to anybody, to someone who might not care about my own interests or care about my future, right? Then let me come in. Because this is the mistake that a lot of people make, right? Which is that we've gone to St. Mary's, you've gone to Strath, you've done all of these weird things, and then you hear stuff about politics, you're like, I've left that for the Watus, right? We actually need to begin to very much, especially those guys who've gone all the way at the uni, right? And have been educated, whatever it is, they need to start coming back and saying that, look, I'm not leaving politics, right, to someone who I don't understand, someone who I don't know. I want to get involved, right? And I'm just like, hey, look, if a class 3 dropout can get into parliament, you, Sajid Vayani, with all your brains and your coffee pumping, what is going to keep you from getting into parliament?
Okay.
Right? And so just that insistence on running. Yeah. And saying, I'm running not because there's money, because also political capitalism is a very serious problem.
Yes.
I'm trying to understand the party system. I want to understand what my politics is, right? And let me run. Because the truth is, one thing I'm glad that a lot of people realized last year is this: we occupy a political economy.
Yes.
Right? Who would have thought that, William Ruto getting elected would mean that there would be taxes on the money I earn from TikTok, or taxes, or that the pads that I buy will get more expensive, or that now a Demio is going to cost almost 3 million shillings. Okay? We occupy political economies. And now it's even becoming wider. I think when you think about even the entry of Trump, right? This thing becomes wider, because who would have thought that whatever bromance was going on between Elon Musk and Trump at the time was something that I had to give a lot of shit about, because that would lead to the pulling out of USAID, right? who provide a lot of the health data that our Ministry of Health runs on.
Yes, that was actually, we talked about
Yeah,
that.
I think we need to fact check it, but
why don't we talk more about that?
Yeah, I mean, we need to fact check it, right? Because I'm just remembering Kenya Health Data USAID system, right? Because if this means what it means,
basically the system that we use has been provided, the technology aspect, by USAID.
Yes.
And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I've heard is a lot of the medication, specifically around HIV, AIDS, different several diseases, was provided for free distribution by USAID. That's no longer there.
That's not going to come.
So
but the government says that they have enough in reserves, right?
I heard there was a spike in cases, and we're potentially seeing that. Is that true? Would you be aware?
Such things will take a while to be seen, also because number one, the government says it's not like it's never been like them not to lie, but they say that they had stocks. Planning and management of key diseases in the country will be disrupted after the United States cut funding for an important health program which supports data collection in 90 low-middle income countries, including Kenya. The Kenya Information Collection Entity, the Demographic Health Survey, which is funded by the USAID, folded about a month ago as a result of President Donald Trump's aid freeze. In Kenya, the program is spearheaded by KNBS, right? It provides estimates of population health indicators, which helps the government in planning, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation, and basically that. So basically, they're saying there's a quote here that says, without continued funding, Kenya may struggle to maintain and upgrade these systems independently, leaving the nation vulnerable to disruptions and hindering the transition of locally controlled infrastructure. The systems face the risk of breakdown and technological obsolescence. That's in essence it. So basically what they're saying is that there's a bunch of almost 90 countries where when USAID stopped, that health system, that dashboard just disappeared.
Okay.
Basically. Kenya might be lucky, right?
But the other countries are not.
I heard that, that system was shut down. Yeah.
I mean, that affects beyond Kenya. I think Kenya, from a technology savvy perspective, we do have ways in which we can adapt quickly and overcome if there's any disruption. But if you look at the other countries around East Africa specifically, extremely low income countries that don't have the technology prowess, they might suffer a lot.
I mean, and that's why I was saying we occupy political economies. But it's up to us. It's just like you might be thinking that you're operating only within a market cycle.
Yeah.
Until you realize that your entire market depends on one guy just waking up one day. They look at their daughter doing something and they're like, no, I have to stop this. And then suddenly it becomes a bill.
To critique USAID on the negative side, again, I'm not sure for a fact this was actually the case, because there was a video that was circulating of several new Prados lined up.
Oh, that was misinformation.
That was misinformation.
They
had not
it was
bought
fact
the cars.
checked. Yeah, you can check. He's like Jamie.
Jamie, pull that off. Yeah, Jamie on a budget.
Jamie on a budget.
There's a video, Kim, we can put over here of USAID, basically like there was brand new Prados lined up.
That was fact checked. It was found to be misinformation.
Okay.
The thing is, however, is that USAID exposed something that was going on societally that many people did not want to talk about, which is that a lot of people do not like the plush lives of the people that live within the aid sector.
Yeah.
This is true. And so when USAID collapses, there's also this entire sentiment around people who are like, you guys have made money from our suffering for too long.
But it's true. I think that happens, and it's a global thing, right?
Yeah.
I think what Trump was doing, he was cutting funding out for several legitimate agencies that were funneling agendas for. We know this is not Connect Coffee, but today's a public holiday.
By the Connect, have you been to Connect's, the one in Kilimani?
Yes.
Lovely. I like it.
There's one in Kilimani.
There's one in Kilimani. Connect Coffee Roasters.
Yes.
Yes, there's one in Kilimani. Which other one is there?
There's Connect Coffee Riverside. Okay,
there's one in Riverside.
I think there's one in Brigham. Britain Towers on Westlands. There's one in Village. They're opening one in Karen.
I love them. They're really. I might go.
Yeah. To be fair,
find
where we
myself
are,
there.
I think we need a permanent Connect Coffee barista. with
Just
us over
someone
here.
who just does
We'll
coffee.
get there. We'll get there once we get Uhuru Kenyatta on the podcast. And Francis
I have,
Gaitho.
I have to be on that, I have to be on that episode.
Fika.
I might get cancelled though.
It's okay. Wait, no politics with Uhuru. I just want to understand the man. Huh? What's happening, family? We've got another sponsor, Mo Fit Supplements. Let's hear it out for them. We've got the whey protein, 24 grams of protein per serving. I love the strawberry flavor. We've got the pancake mix, quick and easy. Use it with water, use it with milk. Fantastic. Creatine, I use 5 grams a day, and fat burner. They have a lot more. They've got a muscle gainer. They've got a pre-workout. They've got shakers. Do check them out. They've shown us some love. I want you guys to show them some love. More Fit Supplements. Guys, you know I love coffee a lot. I literally name my podcast the Coffee Pump Podcast. So with a caffeinated podcast, you need a caffeinated partner. And I'm happy to say that Connect Coffee has come on board as the official sponsor on the Coffee Pump Podcast. This is everything they have. My personal favorite is the Romeo blend. I first had this in 2016. Actually had my first business meeting at the Chiromo campus where we're shooting at today. They've shown us love. I'd like for you to show them some love as well. We'll link everything in the description of the video. Do check them out. Best coffee in Kenya, hands down. Well, how would I go about getting Uhuru?
I hear that you go through just the Saints
Santa.
alumni.
There's a lady.
I told you about it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's Abel Mutua and team tagged a lady called Kanza Dame something.
Yeah, Kanzedena. Yes.
Kanza Dena. She's apparently.
Yeah, she's his handler or whatever.
So I'll message her. I followed her. She was being tagged several times in the video. So let's see how it goes.
Good.
Sorry, after the Connect Coffee advertisement, we were talking about specifically Trump, USAID, and
Political economies.
political economies. But anyway, maybe we can segue away from that. Within the context of Nairobi.
There's one very important thing. We talked about
please.
fathers. Just parenting.
Yes.
And who you wanted to find out about Uhuru's childhood.
No,
And-
so the reason I wanted Uhuru on the podcast was he is a Saints alumni, right?
Yeah,
He went to the same schooling system we did. Politics is something that people say, oh, you should get him to talk about politics. He did this, he did so. I mean, just go and look at all the comments, right? There's a lot of positivity, there's a lot of negativity. What would be different from everything else there with interviews about Uhuru? Just having a guy and understanding the man inside.
That is the most political thing you can do.
Really?
Yeah.
Not talking about politics.
Yeah, because then I get to understand what exactly gets him to tick.
Okay, but
You see, I say this because
Yeah.
there's been a lot of work that's gone into, for example, analyzing Donald Trump as a man with daddy issues. And how that ends up manifesting in his behavior in later parts of his life, through his divorces, and all the way until he becomes president.
Right.
One of the key things I've always said about William Ruto is this. What was his childhood like? Who was his father? Right? What was his relationship with his family, with his brothers, with his sisters? That is, you are understanding this politician at the purest of essence, right? You're understanding who they really are, and therefore beginning to make sense of how they end up with the actions that they end up with. Why is he a pathological liar? Right? What does his childhood have to do with the kind of behavior that we end up seeing?
Right.
Right?
But you see,
the lack of empathy of a leader. Where does that come from? If there are no answers in his childhood. These are not things, because your childhood is such a formative aspect. It's funny how you and I meet after 20 years and the conversation just continues.
How weird was that, bro? Seriously,
It's so fucking weird, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, let me tell you, a lot of this man has
Before
puzzled.
that, just ask me to put up a picture. I'll try and find from. I hope I can find it.
Yeah.
From one of our high school diaries of us all standing in a line.
Yeah.
I think I posted it on Instagram maybe.
You did? Oh,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I don't keep it online as much.
My Instagram is blocked till 3. Sorry.
But you get what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like it's reached a point where sometimes I'm so bewildered by these people that I'm like, who are you? And Kenyans tend to be very wary about that, which is where you find like a politician can't run without having a wife, without having children, like, because they are very keen on understanding that this is a person, right? You're a person first. My friend Cherotich Sei always tells me, the personal is political. So you interviewing Uhuru to try and find out the person is actually the most political thing you can do to Uhuru.
I see that perspective, but
yeah.
What if my agenda was completely
no,
the opposite of
do
that?
your thing.
Right? So you see, the thing is, getting the guy talking about saints, talking about his education, how he grew up, his experiences, sports, does he watch sports? It doesn't specifically have to be around politics, right? It's getting to the man, but I'm sure it will turn into a political aspect. Where I'll ask the guy, and I'll be very open with his excellence. By the way, should I call him His Excellency or should I call him like
protocol?
Protocol needs to be observed.
You must observe protocol, my friend.
Yeah,
I learned the hard way. So I'll tell you.
Really?
I can't say that studio, but I've learned the hard way about protocol. You have to.
I'll
observe
have to be calling Your Excellency, Your Excellency.
Unless he says no.
But
Probably Mr. President.
I think maybe 20 minutes in is like, would you consider me a friend? If he says yes, I'm like, what can I call you? What do your friends call you? But the aspect is the conversation we're having around me and you. We can talk about video games. We can talk about anything to do with politics, not involved. Why can't I have a conversation with the former president? And
no, you can't.
And that's what I'm saying is, but the assumption on the social sphere is, no, this guy stole this. You have to ask him about that.
But it is true. He's a big part of the problem that we have now. It's, to me, I've always said that the problem, you can't analyze last year without looking at Uhuru, right? He's a big part of the problems that we have now.
Right.
But usieke siasa kwa roho.
But maybe
siasa unaweka kwa lungs.
Maybe those conversations twende ikonini to get them with Moaf.
Yeah, I mean, here's what I would say. Again, it is still, you don't worry about it. But to a guy, personally, for a guy like me, I've always said that the personal is political. There will be a lot of insights into us understanding the man, because the man is the president, right? And so you do, like, I've come to learn a lot in terms of the gap of understanding the man behind the politician or the woman behind the politician. Who are they? How did they actually grow up? And that's why these biographies of these people are always very revealing. They're always very revealing because there'll always be one story about this guy's childhood that tells you so much about his politics. Yeah. If you read the biographies of these guys, there'll be a story that they choose to tell.
Yeah.
That they remember distinctly shaped how they viewed the world. I remember that because when I even read Oginga Odinga's Not Yet Uhuru, and understanding, like, I can't remember the direct stories, but a large part of his politics was formed just by his schooling experience in high school. Yeah. And the battles of race. Right? When he eventually even became a teacher. And the kind of organizing that he had to do there. Just the thoughts of watching a white man beat up a black man, right? During colonial times. Like, those are the kind of things, like his experiences in a very personal way. I can't remember the exact details because I remember I was reading it because I was recording a podcast at the time about him, actually. But for me, what it tells me is that's why these biographies are usually very revealing. And so with that podcast, you're doing biographical work. You get?
Yeah.
And if you read biographies, they have a lot of things. It's all over the place. But each part of it actually is a chapter that eventually, when you get to the politics itself, there's actually a thread. There's actually a thread. So who knows? I think it's a good idea. I think it's an excellent idea. Anyway, it's just that he is responsible for a lot of the shit we're going through right now. And
I'm not trying to put a shadow over that.
Yeah, of course.
And cover it and say there is that aspect. But again, it's not the position where he knows I'm going to attack him with all these questions.
No.
Because look, think about it this way. You and I have never met, okay? And this all goes back to the sales aspect. You're a public figure, all right? But I'm trying to build a relationship with you. my assumption of you is to the public sphere and what everyone says about you, not what we know. So in order to get closer to you, like you would any other normal person, you don't ask them hard questions. You get to understand the man. You build a relationship.
Absolutely.
You form. And then as your relationship develops and you mature between these two people, then you can start pressing points. But we lose that aspect of our humanity because these people are in the public domain, right? Where you did this, you did this, you did this. So on a platform like a podcast, there's certain podcasts that will obviously challenge that narrative. But the way I sort of want to approach it is imagine getting His Excellency as a friend, right? Building that relationship,
I get
right?
you, man. Yeah.
Right. And then maybe he wants to reveal most of. He's like, who's the guy that didn't challenge me? Who's he more comfortable around talking? That's sort of the aspect. But anyway, that's off on a tangent.
I just know. Look, if you do nothing, you're never gonna get in trouble.
Yeah.
And that's the point. You'll never get anywhere if you do nothing. So if you do something, you're gonna get in trouble, but you did it anyway. So I'm like, do something. that's all I can say.
Anyway, we throw a dart in the dark. Let's see. It was obviously, it's like shooting your shot. You know.
Absolutely, shoot your shot, man. Shoot your shot.
Let's stay positive. Let's hope. So, you know, if UK comes here, you have to wear a suit. Lazima vai suit.
I really just think to myself, like how, you know, just like our time as kids, the Vice City stuff. Like, first of all, I'm very pissed off about the delaying of GTA 6.
You used to play video games quite actively, right? Or not?
I don't want to admit it publicly. But no, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, it's, of course, the nature of the game has changed. Like, nowadays, I can't... if I find myself playing like a RPG, it's just a lot.
Because a lot. The investment time,
the emotional investment that it takes is a lot. There's no time for that. So I like a good exhibition game, something I can play 5 minutes, it's done.
Okay.
Right, like a good FIFA, 10 minutes, one game, close it, you leave. Otherwise, I'll get divorced.
That's the other aspect is you're also married, right?
Yes, absolutely.
That your time.
Yes, you like, trust me, it is an enemy of progress.
Video games.
Oh, my friend, don't like, especially the RPGs, you know.
They take so much from you.
Time
investment. Even, I think the other thing is the aspect of winning trophies on the games. I'm not sure if that's...
that messes with you.
Is that ADHD where I need to get through?
Be careful. Never. Then you should never gamble.
No, because I've got like 45 platinum trophies.
Yeah. You should.
So
gamble.
when I start a game, I can't enjoy it because at the back of my mind, I'm like, I need to get 100%.
Yeah. That means you have
completion.
Yeah. It means that incentives tend to trigger you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
you should never gamble. Don't even try.
Really?
Because you'll taste something that you.
I tried that airplane game. Bro, the money I lost.
What are you saying?
When I started,
what were you doing playing
I said, let me just try it. So I put 1,000. The multiplier went to like 26.
And then
so that was good money, right? I was like, wait, what the fuck?
You won.
All of us, I won.
You won.
I won.
You won.
But then the next day I'm like, let me try it again. Wiped out.
No, but Aviator is like the KFC of gambling. Like, it's like an invasive species.
Yes.
Right? It's like gotten into the psyche of a lot of young people and is has eaten away at a lot of, like, every day there's a headline about so and so commits suicide after spending their rent, after spending their savings, after spending their school fees, and you see, for me, the key symptom there is the suicide that happens afterwards, right? Because then what is this person going through, right? The kind of desperation that it takes for you to take your rent, your school fees and everything, right? To put it in that app. And then after that, get into such despair that you kill yourself. This is the problem. And I'll say, like, if you like the fact that Aviator has become remember, Aviator did not exist 2 years ago. It's about 2 years. In about 2 years is when it literally has come in and has completely eaten the entire gambling market, right? For me, it's a very clear indicator of where we are. The fact that such a thing can enter and manifest as far as it is. Right? Because when you're in recessions, by the way, people tend to be able to be willing to take on a lot more risk-taking behavior.
Yeah.
That is why even things like last year end up happening, because an entire population is willing to go ahead and say, you know what? Fuck it. I have nothing to lose. Everything that I had has been taken away from me. Right?
You see the appeal of it, though, because if you put, hypothetically, if you put 1,000, let's say 1,000 in a bank, you get 8% at the end of the year, right? You can make 8% in 2 seconds in an Aviator game.
Yeah. But that's why gambling companies advertise it as an investment.
Correct. You see, the thing is,
which is why it needs regulation.
I think when you see Aviator playing, you see the amount of winners over there and how much they make. You've seen that.
I mean, that's by design. That's by design. That's social proof. Right? It's showing, hey, and it's the same way for Facebook to convince you to like a piece of content. You'll notice that they put the names of your friends who've liked that piece of content.
Yes.
That's the exact same concept that they use when it comes to
the design.
Yes. So it's something that's called addictive design. So this is my tech and society hat now talking. This is something that's called addictive design. And you'll be shocked at the number of things that we consume on a day-to-day basis that are premised off of addictive design.
Yes.
You get excessive sugar in soft drinks. That is addictive design. Right? The notification system on your phone. That is addictive design. Okay?
They make it so good.
Yeah, they make it so good.
Yeah, the Instagram.
And that is all premised off of the gambling industry. The gambling industry are the pioneers of figuring out how to hypercharge addictive design, right? But then now those same principles have manifested across various industries, right? Because the main premise is that we've gone from an economy where it's about trying to get you to spend your money and more about trying to get you to spend your time on a specific thing, right? So the more I'm able to keep you around, right, the more I'm able to extract from you. And so me, number one, I want to say this categorically. Shame on those influencers who came out yesterday, right, going against the government's ban on betting advertising. Yeah. They do not realize, number one, the power that they have on their audiences, right? And the kind of damage, right, that betting is actually doing to a lot of young people, a lot of their own people, right? Yeah. And so even there's a lot of regulation that needs to be thought of. I just think that the government maybe is not aware of how to think about the regulation around betting, because you've got aspects of not just aspects of how it is advertised, one, but also aspects of how it is designed. Right? You know, you need to, now when you start thinking about addictive design, you have to think about things like delaying cash outs, keeping people from betting, doing multi-bets and all these other types of things that that feed this monster inside you. Yeah. Right? Banning of casino games like Aviator. And you'll notice again, there's a reason casino games on phones are very colorful. Right, very bright, and that is just...
They're meant to draw the attention.
Yes, exactly. And now imagine there's the other aspect of this that people don't talk about, which is the epidemic of gambling within video games. Right? So the whole FIFA, what is it called? Ultimate something. The ultimate player cards thing.
Yes.
That thing is the biggest gateway drug towards gambling addiction in the world.
It's like money worth, right?
Yes. It makes them a ton of money, but nobody, like, you can just check about like FIFA Ultimate whatever series enabling gambling addiction in children. It's a serious scandal. Like in the West, it's a big deal. Yeah. I think here, because of our infrastructure, is different.
So these are like the cards you buy, right?
The cards you buy on FIFA,
FIFA. We can just place them over here.
Yeah,
I think they're worth something.
But also prohibiting gambling companies from advertising betting as an investment.
Yeah.
This is a thing. Like the way they talk about it is they like literally deliberately talk about it as, you know, you can put your money here and get returns.
Yeah.
What is that? Yeah. That is deliberate framing. You get
It is.
yeah. It is deliberate framing. And to be honest, a lot of people fall for it. When you talk to people, right, they will say that, gambling is an investment. This is what they think about it as. Right? And so it's something that I think we just need to come to grips with. And we need to ask why it's able to spread so much. And in Africa, it's a betting craze.
Because it's the ease, it's the access. You see, the thing is, if we are all working for 500 bob a day, and one of our guys places it on a game and gets 10,000, he doesn't need to work for how many days? 20 days.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So the aspect is, I'm willing to lose several days of work to get that reward on the back end. It's ease and access of money. Again, it all ties to the vices. You can look at religious aspects. Within Islam, betting and alcohol is something that you shouldn't profit from. So even on this podcast, as I am a Muslim, I would never bring on board a betting company. I would never bring on board an alcohol.
Me remember the time kuna Muislamu fulani alishinda sport pesa jackpot.
My uncle! No.
I swear it was the funniest thing I ever saw, because the guy now, he had to be paraded.
Yes.
But I've never seen a more angry man.
Maybe the other...
To receive like 10 million shillings. He was angry. Standing there, that big check, he was just like...
Maybe the flip side is we get all this money from gambling, but we build mosques. We build churches just in case that religion is right.
Yeah, I mean...
So you balance your odds.
Wow, but yeah, I remember I once saw a guy... He won, and then I look at Islam, and then I was just like, wow. And I remember he was so pissed. I've never seen someone that pissed to win.
You know, the thing is, it's that luck aspect. Like, you've seen these stories where people go to Vegas and 25 cents coin they place, and they get the jackpot, and they win hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's again a dopamine hit.
I think it's an investment in a narrative by an industry. That's why they insist on making sure that when the jackpot winner has won, they still win because it's a free advertisement. Yeah, that's it. Otherwise, there's no winning. Gambling companies would not exist if people are losing tons of money. This is it.
It's a business.
Yeah.
Have you wrote articles about it?
I have been looking. I don't understand speaking about it. But I have been looking into, there's an angle there for examining the gambling industry in Kenya from the perspective. There's been even guys on Twitter who've tried to break down the code of aviator to try and understand if it's manipulated.
It's random,
Exactly. And I think there's room for a lot of reporting on that. And also, I think just who will do the story that gives this nation a reckoning about what betting is doing to the country. I think this is the job to be done when it comes to it. And not just blaming the betting, but understanding the psyche of the society that enables this vice to take hold the way it does. I think this is the problem.
It's quite prevalent here, right?
It's crazy. It's crazy. There was a statistic, I don't know, Kenyans are betting, 24,000 shillings per second or something like that.
So these gambling dens are just making and raking in millions.
Yes.
On the back end.
Yes. Yes.
Have you ever tried any of these betting games, Kim?
I've tried aviator.
Yeah. Did you lose?
Kenyans are betting Kenya shillings 2.1 billion per day.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Billion, bro.
Yes. This is how this market is. And this money is disappearing.
And you just say there is no money in Kenya?
The key question is, for me, would be how much are they paying out?
The percentage to the
because
brokers.
then whatever is left, that's money going into a hole. That's evaporation of money from an economy. Right? Because after that, it goes to the betting company. Maybe the betting company paid salaries, it makes the profits, taxes.
Super profits.
Lots of taxes will go, right? So all that money is just going into government, basically.
But the government wants to,
No, because it's causing a societal panic. People are killing themselves because of betting.
I think...
People are getting divorced because of betting. People are going out of school because of betting.
Isn't it a good way to clean money, though?
Oh, absolutely.
So I think political parties who want to clean money in Kenya maybe will have affiliations
but that's
with
why
betting companies.
There's a lot of political patronage within betting companies.
Yes.
I mean, you remember the old Sport Pesa fiasco and how it involved the man you want to invite to the podcast. And a whole bunch of other very high profile politically connected people, including the fact that the current SportPesa CEO, is in parliament. How the
Tarawi.
biggest vice that is plaguing the country, okay, that we are all panicking about, has an actual elected representative in parliament. It's almost like the time when Pablo Escobar was in parliament in Colombia. This is the exact same thing. There's no difference. He was an elected official in parliament.
Yes.
Yeah. And this now maybe
This
brings
Karaori,
me...
right?
Yes. And this now maybe brings me to the aspect of how we think about the aspects of sports and political patronage, right? Then you realize that it's no coincidence that the company that sponsors Gor Mahia, AFC Leopards, Shabana FC, the CEO of that company sort of ends up in politics because football is politics.
Yes,
in Kenya.
we actually mentioned that initially. Maybe let's dive into that.
Yeah.
You were telling me more about how these clubs are used as political
Yes.
mediums.
So I recently did a story about the running battles between Shabana FC and Gor Mahia fans at Gusii Stadium about a few months ago. I did not realize you should have. I think I should bring this other guy on the podcast. He's called Richard Wanjohi. He's brilliant sports writer. Yeah. He just thinks about sports as a thing.
Yes.
I talk tech and society. I think he's like sports and society. Yeah. He thinks about how sports in general. But in essence, when I looked into that story, I did not realize the world that I was getting into, because then you realize when you look into football, right, that football is in essence an entire system that's under political capture, right? The patrons, literally, if you talk about patronage networks, the patrons of a lot of football teams are politicians. When a politician wants to be able to get favor within a certain tribe, one of the assets that they would want to keep in mind that they need to please is a football club that maybe represents that specific tribe. Right? So you look at Peter Salasia and AFC Leopards, Raila Odinga and Gor Mahia, Shabana FC with Simba Arati as well. In fact, I think the day before that match, the Gor Mahia versus Shabana match, right? Typically the TV station should go ahead and interview the coaches, the fans, and everything. Do you know who Azam TV interviewed? Simba Arati, the governor of... They interviewed him as the promo material for the match. Right?
That says it all, right?
It literally says it all. And it's this very invisible, interestingly, invisible political recruitment system that many people don't realize. So I speak to even a friend of mine and ask her, what is this thing about football and about football and politics? And she was like, this is how a lot of MPs are able to get to the youth, right? If you look around a lot of neighborhoods all over the country, a lot of villages and everything, there's like a football tournament, football, youth academy, etc. All those are basically forms of patronage networks because it's a way of bringing together a lot of young people. It's an easy way to bring together a lot of young people that's not necessarily in a political way.
Yes.
Right? And you're able to appeal to an emotive, because football is a highly emotive thing in this country. Football is politics, but it's also highly emotive. It's a huge source of entertainment because of betting. Some people think of it as a source of money, right? And there are a lot of people whose dreams are pegged on the stories of footballers. So if you want to figure that stuff out, you attach yourself to that system. And so if you're a boy who doesn't want to end up doing drugs, you don't want to end up becoming a thug, you don't want to struggle kwa mjengo, where else are you left to go? Go to the local youth academy.
Yes.
Who happens to own that academy?
Politicians.
Exactly. And so she was like, there are so many random youth academies, etc., youth cups and tournaments, and all of those things are being run by politicians. In fact, one of the things that surprised me was, I think it might have been something that I saw became very prevalent during the last elections.
What was this?
This thing of using football tournaments as campaign tools. So an MP will have...
Yeah, exactly.
An MP you see a football tournament poster and then the MP will be there. His face will be at the top. I mean, Sakaja has something called the Sakaja Super Cup as well, if I'm not wrong. Right? All of this is just, again, how the nature of the game is played.
You mentioned Sakaja. Maybe now's a good time to segue to Sakaja.
Yeah.
The hopes and dreams we had.
I didn't have any.
Don't sugarcoat it.
I don't sugarcoat, but I didn't have any. But yeah,
What's going on over there? He's come on a lot of scrutiny. Things are not moving as was planned initially. A lot of promises
was
were
there a
made.
plan?
I'd like to think so.
I need to come back to all these things. Was there a plan?
So highlight to me what's
Yeah.
going on within Nairobi, and maybe then we can also tie it into the next elections. Who do you think the right players are?
Well, I'm not an expert necessarily on Nairobi politics, but I mean, I live here and I don't like what I see. So this is the problem. I think there's just been a very systematic, again, I always say, we always have to stretch
Yeah.
our political analysis, at least when it comes to thinking about our condition, right? There's a very interesting article you must read. It's called The Sonkonization of Nairobi.
The Sonkonization.
Yeah. It's by the Elephant. I think it was written by a guy called Dauti Kahora. Brilliant mind. But please read it because it is one of the aspects of the beginning of this condition. Yes, Kidero was fucked up. That's true. But then there's just this moment when Sonko comes in that just kicks off a very crazy tangent of things, and then now it's Sakaja. I think every governor should be to blame for the current predisposition because they have a role to play in fixing our systems now, right? For me, I think it's just as someone who lives here, and for me, I don't want to complain as from a political point of view. Let's just talk as people who live here.
Yeah.
Nairobi is darker. Do you have trouble driving at night?
Yeah. Because of the
drive
lights.
like you can't see.
Yeah, the lights.
You can't see. Like you actually can't
In
see.
some places, there are no lights at all.
Yeah, because exactly. Like there's no lights. There's like literally, it's impossible to drive in Nairobi, right? Neighborhoods that typically were well planned.
Out the window.
But this was also a problem in Kidero. These problems have been recurring.
Have you passed by Parklands recently?
I avoid
Because
of the flooding.
We had gone for dinner.
Yeah.
This was maybe a month back. So on the way, we went through, what is that? General Mathenge. So through Parklands to General Mathenge. Diamond Plaza, that area. Bruh, they're literally buildings that have been there for 5 years where you had a 360 view of your surroundings. And now, when you open your window, building at the front, back, everywhere. And literally what has happened is you can open the window and touch your neighbor's wall. The gap in between these buildings is like this. And there are multiple buildings. Somali investors, Indian investors, construction at night. Literally, bro, we were seeing the New Year's fireworks, one of these buildings. Now, you can't. It's covered by buildings. And literally, one of my friends, you open his bathroom window, there used to be the view of the forest from there. But now, literally, it's a wall where he puts his finger out. Literally, this is the wall and he can touch it. There's no space.
But that's the thing. Nairobi is in decay, right? Nairobi is in decay.
Yes.
And this is the problem. The traffic starts at 2 p.m.
So the petition not to deforest Karura forest.
Yeah, I mean, Nairobi is in decay. Like, I will always say this, and this is something that will likely happen. We've seen it several times with other countries where the capital city loses the plot so much
People start moving
that the
out.
elites decide we're going to create a new capital city.
Yes.
It happens all the time. Kenya wouldn't be the first country to do it. It's happening in Indonesia right now, right? It's happened in Egypt. Even in Tanzania, they moved from Dar to Dodoma, right? The idea of like Nairobi is too centralized with too many functions, right? Serving too many things, and that it's like this city will kick the bucket eventually. Like it's a thing. Like, and typically it's the kind of resources that are finite that would end up getting lost in the process, right? So already the drainage systems are overwhelmed. Right, we're still relying
drainage 100%.
Drainage systems are overwhelmed. We're still relying on colonial era mapping of the city to build it further, and you get. That's why forests are being encroached on, right? So because again, there's just not much that you can deal with. You get. Who knows? We might run out of water.
There's a risk of that.
Absolutely. I mean, if Cape Town had a risk over day zero, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if, will Nairobi run out of water?
Yeah, Cape Town, there was quite significant issues. There was power shortages.
Yeah.
Was
We will end.
water.
Yeah.
Like swimming pools were closed.
And you see, nobody recognizes that the challenge of population and function pressure that Nairobi is going to face. You get. The more this city becomes marketed as this global touchstone, the more we will not be able to afford to live here. We already can't. The social contract for a lot of young Nairobians, the social contract that we would have been able to sign with our society in general has been broken. We can't buy homes in this city. Many of us grow up without ever thinking we can own a home, right? In Nairobi, at least.
I think the age is shot up to 38 by the time you own a home, whereas before, our parents'
After
generation
38,
is
we
in
won't
20s.
own. Even 38 will never. Because, I mean, think about what it takes to actually own a house here. The mortgage rates are crazy. The price is crazy. You get. And so, like, a lot of things are just shooting up for a lot of people that would have easily been accessible. The pressure is going to be very high. Schools, right? You will find that there will not be enough schools to accommodate all the children that are in this city. You get.
St. Mary's.
St. Mary's is one thing, right? But you get, this is the main thing, at least for me, with regards to how I think about this city, is that the governor's job is actually to stop the decay of the city, right? Because this city is in decay and that we need a serious turnaround plan. But unfortunately, this is not how any of it is working.
Do you have someone in mind that would do a better job? Have you thought about it?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Because I haven't heard of any plans. I mean, again, for me, I shy away from endorsing candidates publicly, except Crystal Asige. I'm like, but other than that, I shy away because we always have so much hope in so many candidates, and then they just fucking let us down. It's really crazy.
That's the political story, right? Promises, and then when you come in, you fall short.
Kenya's political story is one of disappointment, absolutely.
And we've always been sad, and we expect
And then we
so
drink
much.
our problems
You know,
away.
what I remember is when Uhuru and Ruto won the presidency. Remember, Ruto cried.
But see, he cried this time again. Usually from time to time, I have this picture. There's this picture of Ruto crying when he cried that first time, 2013.
You remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
mom was like, we're so happy. We expect so much.
Yeah, me, I love this picture. I usually put it on my WhatsApp profile picture.
Utaweka hii. You'll put that
There's
away. Yeah?
many. There's usually many. There's that one, and then there's this. I love this one. This. That's the one I put on my profile picture. I usually love it because I'm just like
Ruto crying.
just Ruto crying.
Is your gallery full of Ruto crying pictures? Okay, maybe to end the political aspect, the next elections, who are the viable candidates for presidency?
I like that you use the word viable because that's where the problem starts. Because you see, that's the issue. The biggest debate is around the idea of who can win versus who's just a good candidate.
Yeah.
You see, this is the problem. I think Ruto pali amefikisha watu, it's very clear that he's polarized people so much, he's radicalized people so much to the point where there are people who are so keen on trying to figure out how can we get this man out, right? And that polarization has pushed people towards a by any means necessary situation where they're willing to accept candidates that have less than stellar reputations. And I'm talking about Matiang'i, for example, right? What many people don't realize is the current playbook that you see today, right? Media shutdowns, not necessarily internet, but media shutdowns, abductions, right? Enforced disappearances, police killings during protests. That's a Matiang'i playbook.
Really?
Yes. What happened when he was Minister of Interior under Uhuru's cabinet? This is the man that people are calling effective. Yeah, but in reality, if you look at the template of the things that were going, of course, it's just been dialed up a huge notch. But, ODM themselves said it, where outcomes when this stuff was happening under Uhuru's time, we never called it the return of the dark days. Yeah, that's because it was Matiang'i who was behind. I mean, Nation did a whole thing also recently, an entire investigation looking into that, right? But this is the problem. When we add the word viable to the word candidate, we end up with a situation of lesser of two evils.
Yes, and you don't sort of...
And then let me tell you, if we end up in a lesser of two evils candidate situation, then I think, it is quite plausible that Ruto comes back. Or we end up not fixing the problem that we set out to solve in the first place. This is the problem. Yeah. So I think it's just...
But is there anyone... Sorry to interject. Is there anyone that has the numbers to challenge Ruto?
That's the key. Again, if we keep thinking like that, we won't end up...
I'm not looking at it from a perspective of now viability. I'm just looking at it...
The numbers to challenge.
Who is there? Who do they prop up?
I don't know. But I do hope that the person they prop up is someone that respects constitutionalism and the rule of law. Because as at the point where Kenyans are right now, a lot of the Kenyans that have been... that, at least if I think about it from a voting perspective, we're like that girl who's dated too many bad boys and now just wants an accountant. Yeah? Because...
She was a pianist from church.
Yeah, he was a pianist
from church.
The usher. Suddenly the usher is a very sexy guy. Because you're done with the bad boys.
Yeah.
Because
But you're not really done.
Maybe we're not really done. And that's why maybe Matiang'i is people are fancying him. But look, for me, this is the thing. Because I thought to myself, the bar is so low in terms of promise to Kenyans right now. Guys, because Ruto ran a stellar campaign. He ran a stellar campaign in terms of the messaging, the aggression,
and the time he started off and so much ahead. Yeah.
Even the route map. This guy on the last day of campaigning campaigned in two locations. They campaigned in Nairobi. You could see them. They took videos of them running to a chopper. Then they took a chopper. They went to, I don't know where it is. They went to somewhere in Central. Right? Like these guys had energy. They were focused on the win. Their messaging was top notch. They took the time to listen to people. Like that's why people believed in him.
100%.
You get? And now I'm like, it's that point of, again, bad boys. You come and now start promising me the world. I'm like, guys are like, I've had this shit before.
Do you vote every election?
Absolutely. My father is actually the person who took me to get my voter's card. God bless his soul. And so, since then, I always used to vote with him. We always used to vote together. And then after, of course, now he's died. So this will be the first time I'll be voting without him, which is, of course, a very sad thing for me. But yeah.
He passed away
2 years ago. Yeah.
Sorry for that, bro. Sorry, Kim, you were saying?
Yeah, you were saying?
The voting process, like Kenyans with kitu kidogo man. Like you, people taking 1,000, just come on. Just 1,000, and they're willing to vote. Like you gave me 1,000 votes. Why?
I mean, you can address that. It's just temporary money to just serve your family and you get a vote, because maybe those people just don't care. They're just getting funded, right?
But you see, that's the thing, the helplessness, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that you voted and you've not seen anything change in your life. And so you realize, voting is a hard thing, eh? You know that, eh? Yeah. Like, not necessarily hard, but that aspect, lining up for 3 hours, taking the day away from your normal duties. It's a public holiday, so pengine if you were kawe ni mtu wa kibarua, you've lost that day of work. You get?
Yeah.
So some people are like, if someone can pay me to do it, it might replace the nini, but it's still puzzling that don't underestimate the fact that the message still counts. right? That whatever people are able to deliver in terms of a message towards voters still counts.
Yeah.
It's why independent candidates win in this country. It's not because that they have a machinery. A lot of people win on the basis of their ideas. A lot of people get propped up by their communities, in order to be able to win.
Correct.
Get into office. And the political moment that we had last year, I think, is something that is going to be able to show us, is going to be able to, I think that is going to be able to propel a lot more of such kinds of ambitious candidates to be able to get in. I mean, if people are able to raise almost 31 million shillings via M-Pesa for victims of police brutality last year, that means that there's that crowdsourcing capacity to, like, moving that crowdsourcing capacity away from just funerals, harambes, etc., and now moving it towards political action is a very new way of thinking about how we form our politics. And this is what excites me about the current moment that we're in. Yeah. And if people are actually if we are able to convince people to start crowdfunding for their politics, I'm like, that's an amazing story for the chapter of this country. Even if that candidate doesn't win, right? And this is what I actually think. A big part of also the next election is also about sending a message, especially at the national level. Yes, there might be the system, there might be people with the numbers, people with the money, the machinery, because it's true. Traversing this country is going to be hard. You'll need helicopters. You need staff. You need T-shirts, printing, like it's a campaign, right? You need to motivate people to be able to, and also most importantly, motivate people to be able to go to the ballot, right? But then at the other side, I think there's also a chance to continuously send a message en masse to the political class, because they're also not going to go away, right? They're not going to go away. They feel challenged right now, but they're not going to go away. They're not going to just give up what they have, right? So the potential to just send a big middle finger to the political class is also on the table, right? And so the candidates that are coming out off of the basis of, integrity, the integrity candidates, I feel that this is also part of the job, right? Yes, it's important to win, but this is also part of the job. We cannot be weak about this.
Yeah.
It's not about also being viable. I think it's just about sending as strong a message as was sent last year. Yeah, that is very, very important. Sending as strong a message as was sent last year and getting more young people into parliament. More and more, and not just more young people, everybody. The middle class needs to stop shying away from politics. They need to start getting in.
Would you ever get into politics?
$1 million question. I hold. Let me come back. Let me come back.
Okay.
Let me come back. Let me come back to it. I don't know.
What would be the right, let's say we decide to get into politics. What's the right steps to take? How do we start off?
Well, the first thing, of course, is it. I think, and I'll bring this lady on sometime. She did a brilliant podcast with Fixing the Nation, but I think the steps she outlined were very important. You don't just wake up and start saying that you want to run, right? I think the first instinct is to engage with the community. The most important aspect, actually, that you need to do first is engage with the community that you're looking to represent, right? There are community leaders, there are CBOs, NGOs that operate within that community. You need to actually engage and actually understand what plagues that community in a very real sense, right? And then from there, figure out what the party system looks like, which party you want to register with, and all that stuff, and then engage with the process as it is. But the most fundamental part is community engagement. That is the first thing you have to think about. Without that, you can't just wake up and say, you know what, I belong, I am entitled to this.
Right.
To this.
So be involved in your community, find out what the pain points are.
Exactly. Okay. And there are infrastructures that enable community engagement that you need to think about. And then you move from there. It doesn't start by being saying you're popular on Twitter and therefore you deserve to. Or you have a very nice podcast and therefore you deserve.
Now we're going for presidency.
No. That's not how it works. Or rather, that's how we end up with the wrong kind,
Yes.
of guys. So for me, this is the main thing. Yeah.
Me and him, politics. Next 10 years. President, vice president. Esports gaming. We'll become big. Esports policies.
Instead of
We're going to play PlayStation,
youth clubs.
5% subscription fee.
Oh, yeah. Instead of youth clubs, we do gaming centers. By the way, gaming centers are
A big.
serious business, Bana.
I don't think so, man. You know, the problem is gaming is also quite expensive. So,
Dude, the FIFA
no,
thing.
that's fine. You see, the thing is, if you look at from a technology standpoint, the Xbox servers, the PlayStation servers, the reason they haven't really come to our area is because there's a lot of pirate copies of games. So the PlayStation stores, all this aspect, is not really needed. It is big. Mobile gaming is quite big.
Huge, yeah.
Very, very big. But I don't think we're at that place where you have esports clubs. You do, but I mean, you like Fahad, my younger brother, he plays competitions, and he plays competitions for the winning prize is a case of Red Bull. Get the fuck out of here.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, seriously.
sure.
Like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
There was one that they did exceptionally well where he won 500,000 shillings. But that was
What,
like
Tekken or FIFA?
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty. Oh, wow.
I mean, so and
Call of
at the
Duty.
time he was like 22, 23.
Call of Duty has reached tournament level in Kenya.
That particular, it was an esports 2-3 years ago. So
Okay.
I mean, 500,000 bob.
Yeah.
That's pretty decent money, but there's nothing beyond that. It's the one-off, right? It happens once every 4-5 years. It's a unicorn. You don't really have competitions where people can genuinely make an earning, clubs,
Make a living,
sports,
etc.
this and that.
But that's the
But
plague
if
of Kenya.
If you
in
look at our
general.
football clubs in general, there are not many people who earn a decent living, yeah? Anyway, as we wind things down, I want to move things away from politics, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are we good?
Yeah, I'm good.
We're good?
Yeah.
You went to States.
Yeah.
Tell me about States, bro.
I mean, everything's big.
I'm looking forward to going over there.
Everything's big. I was in Texas and then New York. Everything's big. First of all, in Texas, it's funny. Like, I was so shocked. I don't know if I ever showed you. I did a TikTok about like just how mad things are in terms of just how crazy it is, how big.
Like a medium portion is actually like a double XL over here.
No, dude. I mean, you can go to the store and like everything, like there's no 300. You know, you're on a 330 ml
Yes.
drink. That shit doesn't exist, man. It doesn't exist.
Jesus, this is like 1 liter.
The
cans.
1 liter only options, man.
Look at the size of this. There's
1
okay,
liter.
which reminds me. There was I shared with Eric. Eric of fuck, my TikTok is blocked. There's a petrol station.
Bucky's.
Bucky's.
Yes,
Bucky's.
Dude, me, it was like an...
Bro, the petrol station is like the size of Surrey Center.
Yes!
And
Yes.
you know how you have Chicken Inn and all this. So imagine a petrol station like that, the size of Surrey Center, and that Chicken Inn is a supermarket. You can get everything from clothes to food. You can do all your shopping over there.
The petrol station.
Bro, it's insane. There are people making chocolates over there. Different types of chocolates.
Yeah.
There's a coffee station. Not just some Garcia coffee station.
It's proper.
Proper.
You can buy a golf kit.
It's even better than the Java.
You can buy a golf kit.
You can buy a golf kit over there. Sports shoes. You need stuff for your house.
I participated in
Jesus
America.
Christ.
I participated in America's favorite pastime, shopping. And I can tell you, dude, it. I was just like, no, this country is
insane.
And I mean, that's why like Trump is like an existential threat to a lot of these people, because you know, if you start saying that you're gonna bring manufacturing back into America, that means you're gonna make everything expensive. Yet this, like, I saw stuff in Texas was so cheap. I was in shock.
And how long ago?
Like
How long ago was this event?
like 2 months ago.
Oh, so it's recent.
It's recent.
So cheaper than Kenya in some instances. Shopping, let's say Nairobi.
Yes, everything is cheaper, like clothes and stuff.
Yeah.
Cheap. Everything is
Like what if
cheaper.
you go to a supermarket?
What?
Like $10, can you get a shitload?
No,
Like 1,000 bob
it's
here.
the quality of what you can get
Yeah.
for the same price of what you like. The same T-shirt that would maybe cost you $15 here would probably cost you like $6K here. $15 there will cost you $6K here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like the stuff I was buying, I was just like, hey, dude, this is a bit too cheap. It's crazy. Like, and that's the threat that many of them don't realize that, as I think their economy largely focused on
Consumerism, huh?
not consumerism, but also they focus their economy on IP. Yeah, and then put the manufacturing away. They focused on building brands engineering consumption, right? And then offshored everything.
Yes.
Right? So that it was that you Reebok made in Thailand or Vietnam or whatever, but then the focus of the Americans was to build out that brand and make sure that it's something that is
the
appealing.
best of everything, just on designed and concepted in America.
Exactly.
Made in China.
Made in the rest of the world. That's the idea.
And were you at Texas? Did you go for work? Did you go for
I
holiday?
went to see my family, which was interesting because I met like a bunch of Kenyans. First of all, it's interesting to see how active the diaspora are in Kenyan politics. You might find there are a lot of blogs that you read out here that are actually run by diasporans, and you don't know.
Yeah. Ikonini podcast, right?
Yeah.
A huge part of his subscribers is the diaspora who are very interested in what's going on in Kenya, and they support him quite a lot.
And they're good at donations. You should figure out that market, man. They're very
Maybe we get into politics.
I mean, they're exceptionally good at donations, man. Like that's something I've noticed.
Exactly.
Exactly.
They tip quite a lot. But overall, your experience in the States, was it very positive?
I enjoyed the hell out of myself.
But you went to different places, right?
I did. Yeah, I did Texas. I did Austin. Then I did New York. New York was interesting because it's all marketing. It's just one big concrete jungle. Yeah, incredibly expensive.
You didn't like it, did you?
I didn't like it, but I was just like, I'm in New York.
But were people rude? Were people
very individualistic? I must say that's something that I found to be surprising. But I think it's a big city vibe. If you compare with Texas, it's just Texas is
more
the shit.
Open, people have more space.
Texas is the shit, man. I'm surprised, and that's why there's so many Kenyans in Texas.
A lot,
Yeah. So many Kenyans in Texas, and I went for my first NBA game as well, which was interesting. I mean, look, this is the thing that I say about like that economy. It's very good at just
getting you to spend money there.
Like just keeping you busy. Like there's nothing that's not going on there.
Yeah.
You get, and like you wonder, why can't Kenya get to this point?
The NBA game, it reminded, when you told me about it, it reminded me of when the first time I was in Canada and my cousins were like, why don't we go for a baseball game?
Yeah.
And it's like a movie experience.
It is different.
It's a thing on its own, you know, where you have everyone singing the songs, you have the theater aspect of it, where it's just loud, everything is extreme. So I can imagine in Texas, a basketball game.
Oh yeah,
that must have been insane.
Oh, I was so drunk. Yeah, so I mean, one of the things I just want to highlight is that, you know, there's a friend of mine, he's called Oyunga Pala, prolific writer.
Yeah.
And he talks about how one of the things Kenyan society lacks, you know, also society has deficiencies.
Yes.
Is this whole aspect of how, as a nation, there are actually very few times we come together in one big crowd outside of politics. Outside of politics and maybe few times with football, there are very few other avenues in which the country just comes together. Right? And it's people of all walks of life. You don't know where this person is from. You don't care which tribe they're from and all that kind of stuff. And that culture just being across the entire country, it's not there. Which is why, like last year, again, the protests, especially June 25th, was different.
Yeah.
Because it was the first time in a long time Kenyans had seen that. That's why people talk about it having a carnival atmosphere, right? People carrying speakers and, you know, people getting girlfriends in the mandamano and all that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. We don't have that. Culture as a collective. That thing of kujiachilia as a culture, right? Places where we can scream about something else other than politics, unless Harambee Stars is having a match or something of like that sort.
We don't really have
really have that culture. Like many of us, the first time maybe we actively go to a stadium or anything, if you're, you know, that stadium is full. Right? 60,000 seater, because that's the thing. 60,000 seater stadium being full all the time.
Crazy.
We don't have that culture here.
like a football. My
And-
brothers and them
yeah.
went to UK and they went for a football match.
Yeah.
This electric.
It's different.
It's very electric atmosphere. You know?
Yeah. I mean, look, there are people who go for, the guys who go for God matches and all that, which is an amazing
experience,
vibe. It's an amazing vibe. But like in general, in terms of forming a national identity, when you try to ask yourself, how are those things formed? It's actually through such things. Those are the melting pots the country needs. And we don't have that. But
It's
I
changing.
really enjoyed it. I enjoyed that NBA match.
It was a positive experience.
Oh,
overall.
excellent.
We'd recommend states for anyone to visit.
I've seen it under Trump. It's not so bad yet. It's not so bad yet. It's a big country. I mean, I would recommend for sure. But then I hear like people are so afraid of it and all that now.
I think anyone that gets an opportunity to go, it's good to experience things
That's
beyond
they give you a visa as well.
beyond the board. Yeah, they give me a visa finally.
Oh, you go.
yeah,
Awesome,
finally.
awesome. Do it,
Texas.
man. Do it.
Yeah, we'll
do
see.
it. Just
Don't
don't come back with a clogged artery. Oh yeah. Don't come back with a clogged artery.
I mean, ideally, what I wanted to do was go across Route 66 and just go the span of America, but maybe start off in New York, go to some parts, just all the key parts, you know. Let's see. That's still a plan.
So just be careful because America is also a tourist trap of sorts. So the things that you think have been portrayed.
Yes.
So have you ever heard of the Paris syndrome?
Where you think it's romantic, but it's actually a piece of shit.
Yeah. Paris is like the
I
worst
fucking
place to
hated
go.
Paris,
Yeah,
bro.
exactly.
I
Everybody
hated it.
hates Paris. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Because it smells of pee. The whole city smells of pee.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
They think Paris is romantic in the movies.
Paris
and
is not safe.
It's the ghetto.
It's a ghetto. It's
the
it's
ghetto.
Oh, sorry, is my hand blocking that? It's basically you go there and you have all these vendors around the Eiffel Tower selling
Chinese.
you vapes and fucking miniature Paris stuff.
And roses.
The waiters are extremely rude. The food, to be honest, in 80% of the restaurants I found was dog shit.
Yeah, of course.
Dirty, smells like piss.
It smells. It's the piss that got to me, man.
Yeah.
They avoid
Because I was like,
gangs in like train stations.
yeah,
It's a
it's
shit.
crazy. It's
I'd recommend going to other cities in
so
France.
there's something called the Paris syndrome, which is like, because now you've fallen for it, right?
Yeah.
Guess what? There are people who've fallen harder for it. It's you've never been to Paris, you've never taken like a review from someone, spoken to someone who's gone there, and so you decide, you know what? I'm even going to take my chick there, and I'm going to propose. Then you guys land, and it smells like pee.
Peace. It's dog shit. It's commercialized. It's commercialized.
It's crazy.
It's crazy, bro.
It's crazy. It's bad. And so imagine now you want to propose. and then it's the Eiffel Tower. You thought you were the only one
won,
who was
yeah.
going.
There are
Women,
thousands other couples.
Thousands of people.
Proposing in front of the Eiffel.
Yeah.
I mean,
and you can't even give someone your phone to take a picture for you. He'll ask you for money because they know.
How unoriginal is
So
that you propose in front of the fucking Eiffel Tower?
No, but you see,
like
that's
if
what-
she cheats on you in 5 years with me, that's why. Because you're a fucking dipshit that did such a
that keep
like,
aside of you guys. I cannot engage.
you know,
I will get cancelled.
this is that thing where top 10 places to propose to your girlfriend. Paris, fuck you.
Man,
If she cheats on you,
and
bastard
you see,
guy.
this is the problem. So these guys, I say every time I see a proposal picture in the Eiffel Tower, I'm just like, you guys have been through a lot.
We're doing this. I appreciate you coming, bro. This is one
Thanks,
of many.
man. Like that's
This has been good.
This has been dope.
We've gone all over the place. I appreciate you.
As it should be.
Next time, by the way, we need to play golf together. So
Absolutely. When do you want? I'm coming back in about a week and a half's time.
I'm a beginner.
Don't worry.
Hakuna
Golf
no-
is hard.
Everyone is a beginner.
Everyone
Every
is a
single time.
beginner. We are all beginners every single time.
Where do you normally play?
Limuru.
So
Yeah.
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we don't worry. We have it's a good idea. It's a good idea.
Guys, thanks. This has been Coffee Cup. We'll catch you in the next episode.